Well, good morning. It's Monday the 17th of November, and as you can see we had a bit of snow the other day, and Jim came down to plough my yard out with a snowplough, but he came at 10 o'clock at night, so that wasn't very good for filming. But time to do something about heating. Right, so last year at this time, when it was the Black Friday sales at Vevor, I decided to get one of these, you know, these space heater things. It was only like $120. It wasn't very expensive. That's Canadian dollars. So it wasn't very expensive, but I didn't do a video on it because I couldn't get the damn thing to work. Anyway, as it happens, that Deborah is well, she's got a camper van. I'll put a picture of one like it here, but it's heated with propane, and lugging £20 bottles of propane around isn't much fun, and they don't last very long. So I thought, well, why not jump back onto this project here and see if we can get this to work, because I couldn't get it to work, and that's why I put it on the shelf, and by the time I got round to it, well, it was spring again. But I dug it out again and I thought this might be just a little thing for her, because not only did I buy this one, I bought another one without the box, just the basic heater, for about $90. It was ridiculously cheap. So why couldn't I get this to work? I did all the things that people say on the internet. I changed the fuel hoses from this awful piping to some Webasto style piping like this. This is very good. And held it on with clips, or proper clips. And you can probably see down here, I've already put it on a couple of blocks. Why? Because you can't get the 90-degree bend without cracking the pipe. It's very, very tight. So I just lifted it up a bit. Now I have had it running in here, and it's sort of not advisable, you know, in a confined space. But I bought this as an experiment to say, could we mix diesel and used engine oil and burn it? Maybe, I don't know. So what I've ordered is another fuel tank for it, one for oil, like a mix. So I'd do a 50-50 mix with the waste oil, and this is neat diesel. So I could split the two with a little changeover valve here. Now, I didn't know if it was going to work or not. So what you do is heat the machine up and then switch it over to your dirty oil or whatever it is. Now the beauty about my old engine oil is it sat outside for 2 years in all weathers, and it usually separates out a little bit. It gets very clear at the top. Well, not clear, but all the particles and farticles tend to drop down to the bottom. It's in a 45-gallon drum, so I've got plenty of it. So that was my idea, but I thought this would be a better idea for her to put this into a camper, and I'll indicate where I was thinking about putting it in a little red circle here. It would be perfect, because all I've got to do is extend this cable and put this controller inside the camper where the thermostat is, and also it came with a remote, so turn it on and off. And because the camper's pretty well insulated, it doesn't take long to get warm. I think just on the first setting would be more than adequate. But I couldn't get it to work for the simple reason this was the original controller, and although I could control it manually, I couldn't control it with a remote. I couldn't do anything with it. Yes, I put new batteries in it and things like that, and it still didn't work. And I was going to sort of, well, shall I take it to bits and find out what's wrong with it? And I'm not sort of really deep into electronics and stuff like this, so I bought another one, $26 for both. Why pay more? But I thought last night, whilst I couldn't get to sleep again last night anyway, so I thought maybe if we used the other space heater on her camper, it would be better than this. I don't like the idea of putting this inside a confined space. I think it's a really bad idea. It wants to be outside and exhausting and things like this. Now, a lot of people said, you know, you can put and maybe an old radiator. I've got a cast iron radiator, but there isn't enough place to put it in a camper, so you could run the exhaust through the radiator and back outside and recuperate the heat coming out of there. So I'm not going to do that. It's what I did think about was running this onto the step outside, you know, like as a fan, so when snow falls on it, it just melts, so you're not falling on your backside. Yeah, I don't know. But like I say, it does work. I've tested it out, it works perfectly. But I'll show you the other one and you perhaps understand what I'm trying to say. Right, so this is the other one. It's still a 5 kilowatt one, but it doesn't come with the metal box or those awful annoying clips to hold the lid down. We've got, I've already opened this because I wanted to get the connector out, not the connector, but the remote control. But this is the unit, and a lot of people state that they're very good. There's not much to them really, but it's interesting how they work because there's, well, let's take the end off and let's have a look. Yeah. There you go, that's all there is. There's a glow plug here. For starting up, there's an internal fan and there's an external fan, and you can see this is the heat exchanger. So there's the fan for the external, there's another one inside. And a temperature sender. So inside here, there is a little furnace, and the glow plug heats up diesel pumped in by the dosing pump, and then it will fire up. If it doesn't fire up, the temperature sensor won't allow it to go on. Around the glow plug, I'm not going to take it out, but you'll have to believe me, around the glow plug there's a gauze, and what happens is once that gets hot and the gauze is glowing red, the glow plug will turn off and it will self-sustain the burn without the need of the glow plug. Alright? Now I was told a long time ago that the reason Eberspacher and Webasters were so expensive, they used a platinum gauze on their tops, on their ignition device. Well, I thought, oh, alright, well, what are they using in this? So it must be stainless steel or something like that, or something cheaper. Now, it's not the end of the world, because you can buy service kits for these little items for pennies. It's really cheap to do. So, yes, they're cheap to buy, but if they break, they're really cheap to fix. Let's have a look in the box of bits and see what there is. Well, it does come with a kind of a comprehensive stuff. It's got a little exhaust silencer, which I don't know why, because I never use it. A mounting plate to sandwich between the bottom of here and your car or wherever you're going to put it. I might have to think about making some sort of a support for that, but I'll see when I get to it. A wiring harness, all pre-made plugs, pretty easy to do, and this is the one of concern for us. Now you can buy an extension plug, but it's only 3 wires, and that's kind of easy just to splice another piece in and extend that inside the camper, so I'm not bothered about that. The nice thing about this is it comes with all the ducting, T-piece, exhaust. These do tend to be stiff, hence why I put round, lifted it up a bit so we could get round the corner. An air intake muffler, or is it a silencer? I don't think so. I think it's mainly to keep insects out getting sucked in. There's that awful rubber hose, look, that goes in the bin. We've got a dosing pump, it's missing its cap. This has been inside the container for quite a while, so it's got a little bit corroded. I have some genuine Webasto ones. They cost twice as much as the whole kit, and really these work just as well. Again, they're pretty cheap to get new pumps. We've got a box of clips and fastenings and things like this, which is nice, and 2 lengths of expandable ducting. So perhaps you can sort of get the idea why I was thinking about using this instead of the red one. Because with this one, I have more flexibility to get it to work. And then oh yes, I forgot about that. Look, this is the thing that kicked it off last night for me, thinking about this in bed. It's got a huge fuel tank, so that means I can bolt this on the outside of the camper, and then you're not messing about with, you know, like filling it up and spilling diesel. So, you know, then you'll be able to see the level on the outside, and it should be kind of good. What the hell's rattling on in there? It's the fitting kit, so don't fill it up. Wonder where the bits is. Oh, and it's also, that's the little piece there to put your fuel pipe on. Now to get the fitting into here, see, I've drilled a hole, and I used my drill gauge here to find a suitable size hole for this, and that one was right. So this is in inches, but instead of measuring it, I just picked a drill up out of my metric set and used that. Drill a little pilot hole first. The next thing you've got to remember is deburr that. I just ran across it with a little knife and just took the edges off. Because this has got an O-ring on and that's all it's got, so you don't want it to leak. So the next thing is, we've got to get the pipe, this is going to be fun, through here, push it through the opening here, and then pull the fitting through. So I've got a drill bit on a piece of this fuel hose. The reason for that is if you just push the hose through, it's all curled up and it won't go straight. So, and the nice thing is, if we hold it up to the light, we can see where our thing is. So that's all got caught up now. Come on, go down. Where the hell is that one? There you go. Go on, get down there. Get down on it. Get down, get with it. I think this, and no, I'll have to explain as well, there was no instructions with this at all. There was for the other one, but not for this one. Maybe I need a heavier drill, I'm not sure. Come on. It'll go down there eventually. It has to. Otherwise we set fire to it. Oh, come on. Ah, there it is. There you are. Come on. Ta-da! Real-time stuff. It's a lot more fun when it's real-time, isn't it? So we take that out, put our fitting onto here. It's a nice tight fit, and then we'll pull it backwards. And there is our fitting on there, you see? That was easy, wasn't it? There is a nut in here, and it is recessed to take this little O-ring here. Now, you've probably understood already how the hell do you hold it when you're tightening it up. I don't know. Probably with a pair of vice grips or something, mole grips, pliers. But we don't want that to leak. You can see what I'm doing now. Yeah, because that's all turning now. Oh, there you go. Right, it's 12mm. So I'm just going to nip this just lightly. Now it doesn't have to be monster tight, but it don't want to leak. There we go. That's that fitting in. That wasn't too bad, was it? So after a bit of messing about, I had to put some wooden blocks on this to space it up off the deck, because the hose, again, it catches. This is all hooked up. There's a nice long power cable going into the battery with the fuse, except the ground is a little bit short, so I'm going to add a bit onto that. I've got the dosing pump in the vise, and I've got the fuel tank screwed to the wall, to the door, sorry. So we should be good to go, except I've got no diesel. So it's lunchtime now, so I'm going to pop down town, pick up some diesel, post some parcels out, and see if we can get this bad boy fired up. Yeah, should work. Like I say, I use this crappy greenhouse because that's all I've got, but it'll be good for now. And then we can have a play around with timers and things like that. Exciting, isn't it? So, see you after lunch.